Welcome to Are You Real? The Psyche of Success, helping you break through the mental roadblocks that keep you from achieving your dreams. Through direct lessons, as well as our insightful dialogue with industry thought leaders and influencers, we can unlock your full potential to the authentic you. Now please welcome your host, Jody Holland.
Welcome to Are You Real with Jody Holland, your host. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, definitions. No, not thinking back to the definitions you had to memorize in elementary and junior high. We're talking about the definitions that we have within our lives. You see, I think one of the biggest problems that we face is that we define things incorrectly. As you go through your life, you're going to experience good things and bad things, things that are in between, neither good nor bad. It is the definition that you give to each of those experiences that will ultimately matter in your life. We spend a lot of our time defining the world as being really bad. Instead, what we really ought to be doing is looking at how can we define things better. So I want you to think about the definition of success. Now, I know what my definition of success is, but I would argue that yours is going to be different than mine, and the person sitting next to you, or the person that you rode on a train with, or work next to at the office, they define it different than you as well. That's the thing. Each of us has our own very unique definition of what it means to be successful. Now, I've been doing seminars and leadership development programs and working with organizations for just about 2 decades now, almost 19 years right at it. What I've found is a lot of the people that I experience that are unhappy in what they're doing have simply defined their world as having to be this certain criteria before they can, quote unquote, experience happiness. See, here's the problem. When we define success in impossible terms, we end up just tearing ourselves down. Now, success is unique. When I define success, there's a combination of how I have my faith, the time and connection I have with my family, the amount of fun that I have in my life, and that's a very important one to me, my finances, and my fitness. So faith, family, fun, finance, fitness. Now, thinking about those 5 areas, if you were to look at how you define success in each of those, what you'll find is that like most people in the United States, we have clearly defined the finances part. We may have even clearly defined our faith part, but very seldom do we define what it means to be successful in our family. The amount of time you want to spend with your spouse or your kids, the amount of vacation you want to take, the weekend trips, the getaways, the dates, all of those things matter. Same thing with fun. I learned a lesson, this was, I would say probably about 10, 15 years ago, it was quite a while back, where I was working. I was working so hard, 80, 90 hours a week, every week, never taking a day off. And I looked up one day and I thought, man, I did not dream about this version of entrepreneurship. Like, this is just miserable. I can't believe that this is all that it is. And that's when it hit me. It is exactly the way that I defined it to be. Because I had told people over and over again, I'm going to pay my dues. I'm going to put in the time that I have to put in to be successful. So my definition of success was working really long hours, working really hard, and beating myself up or paying my dues. So when I backed away from my definition and said, well, what if I defined that I had to have fun? I literally put that in my employment agreements for anybody that I hired from that point forward, that they would have fun doing what they were doing. Now, I know it sounds silly to some people, but I discovered that unless I enjoy the earnings that I have and the time that I have, then I end up messing things up. We have this weird self-sabotage that we do when what we know success should be is out of alignment for what we've defined with the rest of the world around us. So step back from your definition. What you have to realize is it is you that's in charge of you. There isn't anyone else in this world that is telling you how you have to define success. Now, there'll be people who try. I mean, we're hit with somewhere around 3,000 marketing impressions per day. 3,000 per day. That's a very noisy world. Everything from seeing the car logo on your steering wheel, to seeing billboards, to seeing pop-up ads, to seeing the advertisements in your Facebook stream. You're constantly being bombarded by other people trying to help you define how you should live your life and what happiness is. But when you take control, when you step back and say, no, I get to define. And if you'll just take the time to define at least one thing, just one thing in each of those 5 areas, what you'll discover is your life begins to shift for the better. How do you define having good faith? Some people define it by the works, although biblically we have been taught that just doing works doesn't get you saved. So when you define your faith, I would encourage you, figure out where you feel at peace. That's the clearest definition. I kept getting injured years ago doing martial arts and competing, and finally I had a physical therapist friend of mine say, pain is your friend. I'm like, well, it sure shows up a lot. I don't know if we're friends or not, but it's here a lot. She said, no. Pain is your friend. When things are overly painful, that's a signal that you need to step back and try to do things differently. So when I discovered a few years into being in business that I was uncomfortable beyond belief because what I was doing was really painful and not fun, I stepped back and said, okay, what can I learn from this? The lesson that I learned was balance. You've got to have balance in what you drive for in success. You get to define the terms of your success. I know people that define success as, I woke up again today. If that's your definition, that's fantastic. I know other people that define success as, I've got to make X amount of money, and I've got to accomplish this, and I've got to accomplish that. For me, my basic definition of success is, I need to move forward. I need to move forward with my family, with my fun, with my finances, with my fitness, and with my faith. If I move forward in each of those areas, or learn something daily and do something daily to make those better, I feel like I've accomplished great things. I take time each morning to pray and to meditate. I do something fun each and every day, even if it's just watching goofy videos or hanging out with my kids and just being a goofball. I do something every day for my fitness. I bought the Fitbit. This is not an advertisement for them. There's lots of good ones out there. But I bought the Fitbit because it forced me to think about the number of steps that I was taking. I also know that I'm a very competitive person, so it pushed me to get those 10,000 steps each and every day. Now I'm pushing for 15,000 steps a day. I don't get it every day, but I always make at least 7,500. So that pushes me. With my family, I try to eat dinner with them or at least hang out with them by phone or video chat if I'm on the road. Every single day, we communicate. Recently, my youngest daughter has wanted to stay more in touch, which is awesome, I think, because she's 16 years old. And so we text a lot more. Every day, it's a good morning text. Every night, a good night text, even if we're in the same house at the same time. And we do live in the same house, but we just want to stay connected at that deeper level. So what is it that you define success as? Because here's the other side of this. Every single one of us will define failure in the exact same way. Failure is the inability to meet the desired outcomes that you've put before you. The inability to meet the desired outcomes. Now, inability can come from several different areas. The most common area, which is creating our inability to meet the outcomes we desire, is a lack of motivation. Motivation starts with movement. You've got to get up and do something towards your goal, and then mentally you start feeling motivated. So you get the mental and the emotional after you do the physical. When we are moving ourselves forward, and each day we have something to check off the list, that we did something in each of those 5 areas, what you find is your mental and emotional motivation to succeed in those areas, it really pumps up. So the second reason that we fail to meet our goals or have an inability is because we don't know how. We don't have the skill set developed. Now, stepping back from that, I believe that if you have ever learned anything, then you can learn something new now. There isn't a point in life where you go, oh no, they reached that age, they can no longer learn. That doesn't happen. You continue to learn as long as you are willing and focused on pursuing the learning. So if there's something that you don't know how to do, go learn it. I set learning goals every single month. Since 1999, I have read a minimum of one new book each month for personal development. That's since 1999. That's a lot of books to read, and guess what? Every time I read a book, I realize there's more for me to learn. So I continue to get more excited about the learning because I take specific action towards its attainment. The third reason that I believe we fail to move forward is because we surround ourselves with the wrong people. If you think back to when you were a kid and think about some of the advice that your mother probably gave you, be careful who you hang out with. You'll be just like them, Jody. You know what? She was right. My mom was a brilliant psychologist, even though she was a certified school teacher and not a psychologist. The reason I say that is because when she talked about being careful who I hung out with, what she was saying is that we are continuously influenced by our connections. If we worry about our kids being influenced by others, we should understand that there is not an age where we stop being influenced. You are the average of your 5 closest friends. The 5 closest people to you that you hang out with, that you stay connected with, that's who you are. So if you want to make sure that you continue to elevate yourself, take action every day, learn something new every day, and surround yourself with people that elevate you, that are pushing you to be a better version of yourself and not a worse version of yourself. We fail because we choose failure. Each of those 3 areas were things that we have control over as long as we are consciously aware that we have control. Now, when you define your success, account for the reasons that you might fail, but also account for a clear definition of what success is going to mean to you. Money is not success. A lack of money is not success. Those are simply definitions that sit with the finance area. You can define it however you want to. For me, I have a specific number of vacations that I take with my family. I have a specific number of dates that I take with my wife. I have a certain amount of money that I want to earn every single month. Now, when I set my goals, I set an annual goal, and then I break it down by the month. And then I break down each month by the week and each week by the day, so that I know each and every day exactly what I need to do in order to move myself forward. Now, taking this one step further and kind of wrapping this up, I want you to think about what are the basic things that if you did those 5 things every single day, you would feel successful. Because in the end, we don't go for really an intellectual definition. We go for an emotive or a feeling definition of success. Faith, family, fun, finance, fitness. If you were to pick one thing in each of those areas, what would it be that would make you feel successful? That's my challenge to you from this podcast, is write down one thing in each of those areas and then use that list to say, if I do this one thing in each of these areas each and every day, my life will move forward. Dr. Edwards Deming said that if you improve only by 1% each day, you'll find 100 days from now, you're 100% better. Don't try to be everything today. Try to be 1% better today. Define your success, know how to avoid failure, surround yourself with great people, keep moving forward, and keep learning. I'm Jody Holland with the Psyche of Success on the Are You Real podcast. If you haven't checked out the other podcasts on the Are You Real family, make sure that you do. We've got some great ones. And make sure you follow John Fuller and share this podcast with everyone that you know. I'm Jody Holland, and I'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to Are You Real? The Psyche of Success, and we know you found value in the show, so it's time to find even more value on our website. Be sure to visit rureal.org and click on Podcast for insights, free training videos, show notes, and more. Again, that's rureal.org and click on Podcast.